talk about inflation rate in Nigeria. Inflation has recently risen to 11.61%. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, which measures inflation, has risen to 11.61% year on year in October 2019 compared to 11.24% in the preceding month, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Food inflation increased to 14.09% in the month under review, being last month, October, compared to 13.51% in September. Also, core inflation, which includes the prices of volatile agricultural produce, however, slowed to 8.88% year on year in October compared to 8.94% recorded in the preceding year. I'm happy we have a chartered economist on the show. We also have a retired banker and a chartered administrator, so maybe you'll be able to break this down in layman terms, what this means, because what the average Nigerian is concerned about is how much will a cup of garri cost? And for people who run small businesses, if I take a soft loan, how much interest? What does this inflation increase, what does it actually mean?
Okay, from talking from a layman's perspective now, inflation actually talks about increase in differentials in the cost of goods and services. And for us, looking back into previous years, I think this particular year is peculiar in the sense that there had been events that had come into play. Number one, we have proposed increase in salaries. You know, if you check how our buyers react, the moment you have stories about increase in salaries, so there is
everything goes up.
Everything goes up with the perception that there is going to be
more money,
more purchasing power of buyers. And you know, we are also emotional buyers. So the moment you have more funds to accommodate a lot of goods and services, you can actually afford some price that previously you wouldn't be able to afford. But secondly, you also look at the fact that the border has been shut. Border shut will also affect, because sometimes the increase that you have on goods and services might be as a result of scarcity.
Okay.
So if the products are not readily available, the prices automatically goes up.
Because supply is not meeting demand.
Yeah, the supply is now less than the demand. You understand? So you look at the border closure that has actually affected availability of goods and services within the country. The country is actually, in fact, I heard a story yesterday that a company that does a food vendor in the country, a major food vendor in the country, had scarcity of poultry products.
Wow.
Chicken, you know, and they ran out of chicken and there was nothing they could do because the border had been shut even against this product. So people need to rise up to meet that demand. So when you have more demand than the supply, there is tendency for prices to go up. And thirdly, you also look at the fact that we are already moving close to the Yuletide. This very month, the previous month, October, November, is when you have increased economic activities. You know, people wanting to buy a lot towards the holiday, Christmas and New Year. So there is increased demand automatically. You know, there is increased demand, and at the same time, when you look at construction, if you look at the CPI for construction, you understand that we have just ended the rain period. Now, construction activities is going to increase. It's going to be increased gradually. People want to do their roofing, they want to do their road, so there will be a lot of requests and economic activities around construction, and not just construction, even for food items, for a lot of other products. If you check that the CPI for that inflation rate for food items, I think I ran into like 14% or 14.09. You know, so that's a substantial increase, and that tells you that there is more demand for available food items that is available. So the country really needs to. My suggestion would have been that the country really needs to set up a price regulatory commission where you can, abroad, I think in London, you don't see inflation skyrocket or move in margins like that, you know, because that margin is actually substantial.
Quite substantial. I mean, we're coming from 13.51 straight up to 14.
And it has always been like that. So they really need to find a way to regulate prices.
All right. Pardon me, Mr. Alajobi.
Yeah.
Let me skip you and go to Mazi
Okay,
for
okay.
obvious reasons. I'll come
Yeah,
back to
I
you.
think,
He's broken it down. What I want to know, one of the core mandates of this administration is to grow the economy. Now, what impact will this inflation rate actually have on the economy?
It will have adverse effect
Okay.
when we don't produce enough. We talk about favorable balance of trade comes when your export exceeds your importation. But unfortunately, what do we export? We export nothing apart from the oil. Now, you talk about the other services. People are going through the border closure is affecting something that has to do with the public. People demand more of food. There are no food on the tables and things like that. Then, but you have economic team will see their works by next quarter.
Okay.
Because I think they are still meeting privately. They've not come up with their policies and things like that. But one thing is certain. When you talk about favorable balance of trade, you don't produce anything and you are importing more. And again, you now close the borders. There will be shortage of food, but then there will be a decline in foreign exchange because those coming back will bring in dollars, and the dollar will sort of depreciate, right? Because people will like to bring in dollars and the exchange rate will flow. But that's if we have a genuine policy.
Okay.
Otherwise, you will see it like that because people will buy the dollars now, stock it. By next quarter, they will now begin to roll this gradually. The implication now is that the people will be aggressive. There will be aggressive buying. In the sense that now the agricultural products appears to be going down, but then people will be, there's no more, the interest rate is higher. If the interest rate is commensurating with the demand, people will go to the bank and obtain soft loan with a lower interest. But unfortunately, they will recommend the certificate of your mother's, grandmother's, or whatever. And the things, security, I mean, what do you call it now? The security you are going to present,
Collateral.
the collateral.
Collateral.
The collateral you are going to present, where do they get it? And of course, the bond people sign, but do they honor it now? Even the indemnity we talk about, people are afraid to sign indemnity for some people because they don't honor it. They don't honor people. So that is the implication because we are running a dishonest policy. I talked about falsehood. If your economic policy is right and sound, people will buy it. But unfortunately, are not running a very transparent policy. People are afraid even to invest. Foreigners are afraid to invest because when insecurity, ups and downs of the government policies are there, so they'll be scared and said, even though you say things are improving now, let us watch and see.
Okay, all right. So quickly, let me hear from Mr. Alajobi.
Okay, let me start like this. You know, this inflation something, you must have been noticing it since the time the Boko Haram were warning us in this country. The farmers could not go to the farm to produce enough. When you have shortage of food, automatically the price will skyrocket. Again, one thing I observe is that most of our sellers, all our local sellers, the market women, majority of them are, let me put it, they are somehow wicked. Yes, they are wicked. If you go to my area now, where they are selling oranges, you see spoiled oranges in thousands. What they ought to have sold for 10 naira, they will call it 20 naira. They prefer for all these goods to get spoiled.
Even plantain.
If not all these perishable items. Again, our local farmers, how many of them are still working with hoes and cutlasses? To obtain loan is another thing.
It's
you cannot.
The same people
that
to
are
altar.
Yeah, the people that are giving loan now are not the real farmers. These are portfolio farmers. They have they have all the collateral. They have the houses to give as collateral, but the real farmers are not getting the right.
They don't have access to the loan.
They don't have access to loan. So many things, and where I call our traders wicked is that look in overseas when December is coming like this, they will bring down the prices of their goods to the barest minimum. They will say they are doing discount, 50% discount.
Sales, promo, whatever.
But in Nigeria here, instead of bringing the prices down, they are going to inflate it again.
Okay. What about transport? Transport.
Then the roads are not good.
Yeah,
Don't mind, don't forget.
Our roads, the roads are not good. From first week of December, from here to this will be 20,000.
Okay, so travel anywhere. Okay,
Actually, I just want to shed more light on what About said. I think that the effect of this inflation is actually going to be a temporary one, depending on how we react to it.
Okay.
Now, it calls for opportunity for young Nigerians to take part in the local production of goods and services. I was talking about we regulating prices. The government, it will be difficult for the government to be able to regulate prices if we don't have control over our production.
Okay.
For example, if productions are not local, you cannot really place restriction or price tags on imported products. But if it's localized, we can control the entire chain of that production and say, okay, this is how much a cup of gari costs to the market, and this is amount it should be sold.
Averagely. Okay.
So until we get to that level, but I say that this inflation is an eye-opener for us, honestly. It's a big eye-opener. Nigerians must take charge of this opportunity and see what we can do.
And look inwards.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back.
We don't have price control.
We'll come back and continue this.
They don't do it. They are not doing their job.
We'll come back. Usman says for any country to have sustainable growth, inflation should be single digit, not double. Government should have put its house in order before shutting the border. Thank you, Usman, for that. We're still looking at Nigeria's inflation rate has risen to 11.61%, and we have a reaction here. Greetings to you all. My candid opinion on current inflation in Nigeria is the fact that there is little government can do to help the masses, but people should imbibe the culture and attitude of savings from whatever income they receive. After some time, you can convert your accumulated savings to investment. That is the only mitigation against inflation. But our people like to consume whatever comes their way. Please let Mr. Sampson teach them what effort he has made towards investment. Okay, sir. So in 20 seconds.
Okay, savings and meeting inflation, because with inflation, actually whatever savings you have even had is never enough with inflation to even buy what you need.
That's true.
That is really the first problem.
Okay.
So but I think we should build a culture of buying what we need per time. That's one thing that Nigerians don't do. We buy to impress. We buy for emotional gratifications, not even for what we need. You see someone who's earning 200,000 will be bragging and be hoping that he can drive a car worth about 4 million. It takes a loan from his office and buys the car and rides the car, a loan purchased car, around, just for what? Cars are made basically to move you from point to point, not to impress anyone, but for us, we are emotional buyers, So I really feel that, as much as the commentator is correct, savings at this point is investment that maybe he wants to talk about. Savings is a bit different from investment. Now, which at the point where you have high inflation rate, saving is actually not the way to go, because the value of your money continually depreciates. So you better put your money in investment that will yield profit than just saving your money. When you put your money in the bank, it's just lying there. Even our banks will continue to deduct charges on the daily basis. So you're losing the value of your money continually, and you are at the same time you are not able to even buy as much as your purchasing power should have reflected. So what we should be looking at is what investment can you put your money into at this time. There are shortages in demands for poultry products. There are shortages in demands for a lot of items that has been restricted for coming in. Can't you invest in such items? You can even start on very small scale. I know of a friend who started poultry with just about 50 beds, and she's doing very well. She used to be a civil servant in the East, in Imo State, and the last report I heard, she was like she's moving into 200. She now has about 200 chickens she's preparing for sales towards this December.
Christmas.
So we can look at that.
All right.